Hello, everybody.
Hi.
My name is Rick. This is
Nina.
Yeah. We feel like we're on a talk show sitting here with the two chairs. We're talking with Ron Jacobson about kind of a different way of kind of engaging small group leaders and mentors and trying to have better connection to one another. And so one of the ideas was to do a video each week. And so there's a few different people that have signed up for each kind of week coming up. We got the short straw, and so we got to go first. And so we're going to just kind of talk a little bit of kind of looking back at the week prior and kind of what happened in small group, and then looking forward and kind of looking at the discussion guide that Ron sends out, but then also kind of trying to kind of engage the reading a little bit and kind of what we're thinking. And I think it's just a way for each small group to kind of hear what's going on in other small groups, not only to feel connected to one another, but also maybe there's something that one different group is doing, or that we would be inspired by, or just something that we can kind of at least feel a little bit more connected. So that's kind of the idea behind the video. I don't do videos regularly, so if this is like terribly outside of your comfort zone, thinking of making a video, you're in good company. But yeah, so maybe kind of looking back, Nina's going to kind of talk about not just this past week, but just kind of a little bit more about how kind of our small group is going. First, let me talk about dynamics. That might be helpful for us. So we are kind of tag teaming with this small group because it's the Act 6 group. So not everybody will have kind of two mentors, and we actually have two student peer mentors as well that are kind of helping. So we have lots of cooks in the kitchen helping with leading this group. So if you're kind of like wondering the dynamic, that's kind of part of our thing. Was Nina started the first day of school, and so it was just kind of something to kind of keep her connected with the cadre. But we do have a smaller group as well. So our group is kind of unique, I guess, in comparison to other groups. Just for some context for everybody there.
Okay, so the past couple of weeks, since it is a cadre 8, they come in together. So they kind of already have a little bit of a history together. So but they're still kind of figuring out their group dynamic too. So a couple of things that I noticed. So I'll start with some of the things that are positive and that I think will continue to work well. The fact that they are together as a cadre, I think, has worked really well because they're pretty comfortable in sharing what they really think and a lot of their experiences. So that's really nice because, especially with last week when some of the questions were really, it made them think quite a bit, but they were able to share quite a few thoughts and stories that I wouldn't expect them to share like in a larger group where they don't know anybody. So that was really good, especially the topic it lends to a really engaged discussion. So the group dynamic is growing, and I think because they're together often that it will continue to grow. I think they appreciate more and more with every week. They appreciate their student mentors more, and they're still working out some of the kinks in their communication as far as when to meet. We've done 8:30 in the mornings, which worked out pretty well, and then there was some discussion about moving it to a different day, but that didn't get communicated to everybody, so it got a little challenging, but they're going back after sort of learning from that experience, so that's been good and sort of a learning moment for them. What are a couple of other things that I've noticed? I think you'll probably talk about the sort of the not disconnect, but just the challenge with the readings and then trying to discuss that. But it seems to me what I've picked up with their discussions is that I think there may possibly need to be a little bit more context for the questions before they just dive into that. And that's probably something we can work with the student mentors with instead of just kind of diving into the questions, maybe giving a little bit more context and then helping the students to engage in that conversation a little easier. So that would be an area of sort of improvement or an area to work on. So I mean, I for one appreciate the fact that they have this space to talk and to discuss, and I think they need it because they've been telling me a lot that they don't always get time together outside of this, and so they really appreciate that there is actually time where they can talk and engage with what they learned in UCOR and how that engages with things that they're working on outside of that. So I think those are the things that I share.
That's good.
So
that's really good. Yeah, and so kind of looking forward to, week 4 now, which is crazy. So a couple different things. One, so I feel bad because I have not gotten to read Courage and Calling this week, and I just kind of skimmed it looking at the chapter, and it deals a lot with like development and life stages. And so I think that is a critical piece, especially now as students are kind of making meaning and trying to make sense of this kind of transition that they're undergoing. So I did see that the chapter has like a significant section on transitioning from adolescence to adulthood. I think that would be a really good section to kind of read ahead of this group and maybe engage that topic a little bit too, especially if the conversation kind of stalls at all. I think that would be definitely advisable. I loved the past chapter about congruence and just kind of this notion of self-awareness and identity is, I think, really important. I think that probably will connect well to the exercise that we're doing here in week 4, and kind of talking about communication and nonverbal communication especially. Some people aren't aware of kind of the messages that they're sending. Some people also get kind of stereotyped that based on their facial expression, there's kind of this idea that they have a resting jerk face or other, kind of thing of people make assumptions based on, that they don't smile enough. And so people think that they're cold or they're, that probably is playing out whether we like to admit it or not in each of our small groups. Like there's certain assumptions being made about nonverbal kind of body language or things, maybe even stereotypes that they're kind of projecting, assumptions they're projecting on one another. So I think this could be a really helpful dialogue and help us not only with self-awareness, but also with like small group dynamics to kind of name a little bit more of what's going on with us, what's going on with our group. I am looking forward to that for the Act 6 students because they know one another now, and I'm sure that if we kind of talked about this nonverbal communication, there'd be certain, hopefully, rich dialogue and conversation. But I'm looking forward to week 4. I do think that these messages, or the question about messages, is something I'm kind of hoping we can stay on and really kind of dive deeply into that. The notion of if we truly woke up to was another thing that kind of stood out to me looking over the discussion guide, because at the heart of it is this. It's kind of, for me as a student development professional, right? And Alexander Aston is a guy who studied student development theory or is a theorist himself. And one of his theories specifically talks about involvement and how the most significant resource really on a college campus is a student's time. And if we really want to know how significant learning is going to be, look at the time invested by the student, where they're spending their time, how they're spending their time is the most significant indicator of a student's success in the classroom, which makes sense, right? Like a person who's really deeply invested in academics and studying all the time is probably more likely to succeed. And a student who's deeply involved and invested in life outside of the classroom is probably going to be more satisfied with their experience at Northwest than a student who's disengaged, right? Like it makes perfect sense. But with that, I think with the theory of involvement, what people fail to realize at times is that what you're putting into relationships matters too. And so some students just kind of are passive, and they think by showing up at Northwest that best friends are just going to come flocking to them, and they don't think about the matter of their own involvement. They don't think about the intentionality that goes into cultivating these friendships. And I think this can be a rich discussion too on how students are spending their time, and are they invested in cultivating and developing these friendships? Is that really what they wanted too? If they came to Northwest with that hope, are they putting their time where their mouth is? Are they putting their time into what they're actually hoping to get out of it? If that makes sense. And so I think the nonverbal communication, and then also the messaging directly with their time. If we kind of were to do an evaluation on their time, would it be showing that they are committed to their own success, if that makes sense. Like that's just another theme I was kind of hoping to pick up on. And the woke up piece, I think I was kind of jotting notes of like self-awareness and helping them become aware of like how much time they're spending and is that aligning with their priorities and what they were hoping to get. So anyhow, that's kind of what I was thinking. That's what I'm looking forward to this conversation. Uriel and Kiki are our student mentors, and they've done a great job facilitating and leading it. And, you know, I know there's been times where they've just stuck to the script, and then there's been times where they've kind of improvised, and I thought it's been really healthy in kind of both types of settings. I think this is a good one to kind of stick to the script and to the guide a little bit, and the task itself I think can be a really healthy exercise. So all that said, that's us. Looking forward to this week. Any final thoughts, Nina?
No. Go team.
Cool. All right. Thanks for watching. And then I think Kendra is up next. So we'll look forward to your video, KP. So, all right. Until next week. Adios.